What upsets you most about the media frenzy over the visit of the Pope? What do we get wrong?
Well, I think some of the focus tends to be on kind of the spectacle of the visit. I think Pope Francis is a man of substance. I think he brings a very powerful message to this country. His critique of markets and his desire to put the human person at the center of the economy is a challenging message. I mean, he speaks truth to power wherever he goes. And I think, we sometimes forget that. Or, the Pope certainly has his critics, no doubt.
I watched the movie last night, Francisco, the Argentinian movie on Pope Francis, long before he was Pope. As he touches down, as we saw yesterday, and is greeted by the president, how will he be greeted by the more conservative cardinals of America?
Well, there's no doubt that this Pope is shaking up the internal politics of the church. He wants a debate in the church. He welcomes that, and he's getting it in spades. So you're right. I mean, there are certainly conservative cardinals who don't like what he's doing. I think the American people are going to embrace him. I think people look at this Pope and they say he's someone who wants to be out on the streets with the people. He brings energy, he brings joy, and it's making people look at the Catholic Church again.
There are a significant proportion of Catholics in the U.S. and is there a candidate running for president right now, whether it's on the Republican Party or not, that will speak to this congregation?
Well, look, I think Pope Francis transcends partisan divisions. His message doesn't fit neatly into our political or ideological boxes in this country. I mean, you see Bernie Sanders talking about the Pope a lot. He can't stop tweeting about Pope Francis. And I think that is because both of them, and they obviously have a lot of differences, they understand the structural causes of injustice in this country, and they want to address that. And that's not always an easy thing. And so, again, I think this Pope transcends politics, but Bernie Sanders seems to be someone who finds alignment with this Pope in terms of his economic critique, certainly.
So Bernie Sanders is actually the closest thing you would think. Do you anticipate encyclicals from this Pope, and what will they suggest?
Well, Pope Francis has put out a very powerful encyclical back in June about the environment and our need to care for creation. And he links global economic inequality and sort of a profit-first mentality with environmental degradation and what we're doing to the planet. And so I think that's really a powerful challenge to, members of Congress in this country who deny that the climate is changing. And I think it's a wake-up call.
John, we all remember, those of us older remember, the enormous attentions of 1962 to 1965 as the Catholic Church revolutionized and entered the modern era. Can we expect another 1962-65 period from Pope Francis?
You're right. I mean, I think this Pope really wants to bring back that vision of the Second Vatican Council, engagement with the world, dialogue. I think this Pope rejects sort of a fortress mentality of Catholicism where we hunker down. I don't think there'll be an official Vatican III, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think this is a reform. This is a reform papacy, no doubt. And I think that agenda is very clear for this Pope. And I think a lot of people welcome it and embrace it. And it's also caused some tension, as you noted earlier, among conservative cardinals.
I think of the scholar Jerry Muller at Catholic University in his one volume on European capitalism. Define the appropriate capitalism for Pope Francis.
Sure. I mean, Pope Francis speaks from the heart of the Church's social tradition when he challenges markets. And so this doesn't make Pope Francis or church teaching anti-capitalist, but it does put the human person at the center of the economy. And so, going way back until 1891, the Church has spoken out clearly on living wages and the need to have prudent oversight of markets. And so I think this Pope wants to humanize capitalism. I don't think he wants to toss it out. I think he understands the benefit of markets, but he also understands the limitations of markets from a street level perspective. As you noted in the beginning, this is a Pope who has his most formative experiences in the barrios of Buenos Aires, and he's going to bring that voice to Washington.
Right. I was just going to say, what's the one message he will leave Washington? Will it be about inequality?
I think that'll be a big one. I think he's going to connect all the dots and lift up issues of human dignity and the common good, and hopefully elevate our political discourse in this country that, has been pretty ugly in American politics of late.
John, thank you so much. Very thoughtful. John Gehring with us, the author of The Francis Effect, and he has to leave us right now and get to the 4-hour security line at the White House.